That rainy Thursday night, Michael Wright made a decision that would save two lives, his own and a stranger's. When his 8-year-old daughter pointed at the soaked soldier standing alone at the abandoned bus stop, he didn't know she was contemplating walking into traffic. Didn't know she'd been discharged for attempting suicide. He just knew 4 words that changed everything. You're coming with me. Sometimes the people we save end up saving us right back. Hit subscribe and stay until the end. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story reaches. Now let's begin. I wasn't planning to be alive tomorrow. Those were the first real words Jessica Carter said to Michael Wright 3 hours after he pulled her from that bus stop. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back. Dad, I think she's crying. Michael's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Rain hammered the windshield like bullets. He'd been carefully not looking at the bus stop they were passing, at the figure in uniform standing there drenched and motionless. Emma, don't stare. But Dad, I said don't. The silence from the back seat cut deeper than her words would have. Michael glanced in the rearview mirror. His daughter's face was pressed against the window, breath fogging the glass. 8 years old, and she already knew what pain looked like. She'd learned it from watching him. 3 years. That's how long he'd been dying slowly, one empty day at a time. 3 years since Rachel's funeral. 3 years of going through the motions while the world kept spinning without him. She's getting so wet, Dad. Emma's voice was smaller now, that special tone she used when she was trying not to upset him but couldn't let something go. God, she sounded like Rachel. The bus doesn't run this late on Thursdays, Emma added quietly. Mrs. Peterson told me it stops at 6. Michael checked the dashboard. 7:43 p.m. His foot hit the brake before his brain caught up. What are you doing? Hope lifted Emma's voice. I don't know. But he was pulling over anyway, doing something he hadn't done in 3 years, acting instead of just existing. Stay in the car. Okay. The rain hit him like a physical thing the moment he stepped out. Cold, relentless. He walked toward the bus stop, and with each step he could see her more clearly. Young late 20s maybe, uniform dark with water, duffel bag at her feet. But it was how she was standing that stopped his heart. Perfectly still, like a statue, like she'd forgotten she was a living thing that could move. Michael knew that stillness. He'd lived in it for 3 years. Excuse me. Nothing. Not even a blink. Miss. She looked up. Green eyes, hollow, the kind of hollow that comes from looking into an abyss and not looking away fast enough. The bus isn't coming, Michael said. Not tonight. I know. Her voice was barely there. I'm not waiting for anything. The words hung between them heavy with meaning Michael didn't want to understand yet. He made a choice. You're coming with me. Her head snapped up. What? You heard me. You're coming with me, my daughter and I. He gestured at the car where Emma's face was visible in the window. We have a warm house. You can dry off. Figure things out. I can't. Yes, you can. Michael surprised himself with how certain he sounded. Because that little girl in my car is watching, and if I drive away and leave you here, I'll have to explain to her why we don't help people who are drowning. Jessica's eyes went slightly. Drowning? Yeah. Michael held her gaze. We're both drowning, just in different storms. Something cracked in her expression, a wall coming down just for a second. Okay, she whispered. Michael grabbed her duffel bag, heavy, the weight of someone carrying everything they own. He led her to the car, opened the back door. Emma, slide over. I'm sorry, what's your name? Jessica. She climbed in carefully like her body hurt. Staff Sergeant Jessica Carter. I'm Emma. Are you a real soldier? Emma, give her space. It's okay. Jessica's voice was still quiet, but something in it had shifted. Yeah, real soldier, or I was. I don't really know anymore. Michael pulled onto the road. The silence was thick. He could feel Jessica in the back seat, probably regretting every decision that led to this moment. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Home. And then you get warm. We figure out the rest." "You don't know me." "No." Michael met her eyes in the mirror. "But my daughter says you look sad, and she's never wrong about these things." Jessica's face crumpled, just for a second. Then she had it under control again. Emma, bless her, started chattering about school, about her best friend Sophie, about the frog they'd found in science class. Normal kid things that made the car feel less like a stranger's vehicle and more like home. The house appeared through the rain-blue Victorian paint, peeling desperately, needing attention Michael hadn't been able to give it. Emma bolted from the car. "Come on, I'll show you everything." Emma let her breathe. Jessica got out slowly, stood in the driveway, looking up at the house with an expression that made Michael's chest tight. "It's not much," he said. "It's perfect." Her voice cracked. Thank you." Inside the house, wrapped around them, vanilla candles, burned chicken from dinner, the ghost of Rachel in every corner. "Bathroom's upstairs, first door left," Michael said. "Towels in the cabinet, I'll find dry clothes." Jessica started up the stairs, then stopped, turned back. "Why did you stop, really?" Michael thought about it, about Emma's voice, about 3 years of numbness, about seeing himself in a stranger standing in the rain, because he said sometimes you have to save somebody else before you can save yourself. Tears filled her eyes. She turned and went upstairs before they could fall. Emma grabbed his hand. "Is she staying? Just tonight, Em? Promise, I promise." Another lie. He was getting good at those. Michael made tea while the shower ran upstairs. Rachel's ritual. Kettle on, good cups, creating warmth in a cold world. "She's sadder than you, Dad," Emma said from the table. "Maybe a different kind of sad. Can we help her?" "I don't know, baby. Mom always said," Emma's voice got smaller. "Mom said that helping people is how we help ourselves." Michael's hands stilled on the teacups. Rachel had said that. Right before she'd gotten sick. Right before everything fell apart. The shower shut off. 20 minutes later, Jessica came down wearing his old sweatshirt and sweatpants that pooled around her feet, hair damp, face scrubbed, looking younger without the rain and the uniform, more breakable. "Better?" Michael asked. "Human again." She took the tea he offered. Their fingers brushed. She flinched. "Sorry, I'm still adjusting." "To what?" Jessica wrapped both hands around the mug. "To being back. To being here, to being alive." The last word hung in the air like a grenade. Emma, who'd been quiet, spoke up. "Where were you?" "Afghanistan. That's far. Very far. Did you leave friends there?" Jessica's face went blank. Professional blank. Military blank. "Yeah, I left some friends there." Michael recognized that tone. The one that screamed, "Don't ask," without making a sound. He'd used it 1,000 times when people asked about Rachel. "Bedtime, Em." "But Dad." "No buts." Emma slid off her chair and did something Michael didn't expect. She walked right up to Jessica and hugged her, just wrapped her small arms around this stranger and held on tight. Jessica froze, completely still. Then slowly, so slowly, her arms came up and hugged Emma back. When Emma pulled away, there were tears on Jessica's face. "Good night, Jessica. I'm glad you came home with us." "Me too, kiddo." Michael got Emma through her bedtime routine stories, water promises, about puppies they'd never get. When he came back downstairs, Jessica was still at the kitchen table staring at cold tea. "Couldn't sleep anyway," she said before he could ask. Michael sat across from her. The clock on the wall ticked, one of his pieces. An anniversary gift to Rachel. "Your daughter is incredible," Jessica said. "Only good thing I ever did." "I doubt that." Silence. Then, "Can I tell you something?" Jessica's voice was barely audible. "Anything." "I wasn't waiting for a bus tonight." Michael's stomach dropped. "What were you waiting for?" "Nothing. Everything. I don't know." She looked up at him. I was discharged from Walter Reed 2 days ago. Got on a plane because I had to go somewhere. Landed in Portland because that's where the plane stopped. Walked around, found that bus stop, and just stood there. Discharged for what? Mental breakdown, PTSD, severe anxiety. She paused. Suicide attempt. The words landed like physical blows. Jessica. They said I was unfit for duty, gave me papers and sent me away, except I don't have anywhere to go. Parents dead, no siblings, no apartment because I've been deployed 18 months. I have a duffel bag and a diagnosis and nothing else. She was crying now, not hiding it. I wasn't waiting for a bus, she repeated. I was trying to decide whether to walk into traffic or just stand there until something happened. And then you showed up. Michael's throat was tight. And then I showed up. And you said you're coming with me like it was simple, like saving someone was just something people do. Jessica's laugh was broken. You saved my life tonight, Michael. You just don't know it. Michael reached across the table, took her shaking hands in his. Then I'm glad I stopped. They sat like that. 2 drowning people holding on to each other in a kitchen that smelled like vanilla and burned chicken, and 3 years of grief. I should go in the morning, Jessica finally said. I don't want to impose. Where will you go? I don't know. Then stay. The words came out before Michael could stop them. I have a guest room nobody uses. Stay a few days. Rest. Figure things out. No pressure. You don't even know me. I know enough. Michael held her gaze. I know you're hurting. I know you need somewhere safe. I know my daughter already loves you and her judgment is better than mine. This is crazy. Yeah, but sometimes crazy is better than safe. Jessica stared at him, then slowly she nodded. Just a few days. Just a few days. Michael knew he was lying, knew she knew he was lying, but sometimes lies are kindness. He showed her the guest room, Rachel's old sewing room that he'd emptied because looking at unfinished projects hurt too much. Thank you, Jessica whispered at the door, for everything. Get some rest. She closed the door. Michael stood in the hallway listening, Emma breathing in her room, Jessica moving quietly, the house settling around them, full for the first time in 3 years. In his bedroom, Michael lay down and stared at the ceiling, thought about rain and soldiers and little girls who see sadness better than adults, thought about what he'd brought into his house, someone broken, someone suicidal, someone who could be dangerous or unstable or any number of things that should terrify him. But he wasn't afraid. For the first time in 3 years, Michael felt something besides grief. He felt purpose. At 3 a.m., a scream ripped through the house. Michael was moving before he was fully awake, down the hallway, to the guest room. He threw open the door. Jessica was tangled in sheets, thrashing, lost in a nightmare. Her eyes were open but seeing something else, somewhere else. Jessica. Michael grabbed her shoulders. You're safe. You're in Portland. You're safe. She swung at him, connected with his jaw. He held on. Jessica, look at me, look at me. Her eyes focused, saw him, saw the room, saw where she was. Michael, her voice was destroyed. Yeah, it's me. You're safe. She collapsed against him, sobbing. Michael held her while she shook apart, held her while the nightmare released its grip, held her while she came back from whatever hell she'd been reliving. I'm sorry, she gasped. God, I'm so sorry. Don't apologize for surviving. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Is Jessica okay? She had a bad dream, Em. Go back to bed. Can I help? Not right now, baby. Emma hesitated, then walked over and put her rabbit in Jessica's lap. Bunny helps me with bad dreams. You can borrow him. Jessica looked at the worn, stuffed animal, at Emma's serious face. Fresh tears spilled over. Thank you, she whispered. Emma padded back to bed. Michael sat with Jessica until her breathing steadied. "This is why I didn't want to stay," she said eventually. "This is what you signed up for, someone who wakes up screaming, someone who's broken." "We're all broken," Michael said quietly. "That's how the light gets in." Jessica laughed, sad and broken but real. "Your wife said that—" "No, Leonard Cohen, but Rachel would have loved it." They sat in comfortable silence. Then, "Will you tell me about her?" Jessica asked. So Michael did, told her about Rachel, not the dying parts, the living parts. How she collected stray people the way others collected stamps. How she could burn water but made the best grilled cheese in the universe. How she'd convinced him to buy this ridiculous house because it needs love, Michael, just like everything else. Jessica listened, really listened. And somewhere in the telling, Michael realized he was smiling. Actually smiling. Remembering joy instead of just loss. "She would have stopped for you too," he said finally. "Wouldn't have even hesitated. I wish I could have met her." "Me too." The sky was getting lighter outside, almost dawn. "You should try to sleep," Michael said. "Will you stay, just until I fall asleep?" "Yeah, I'll stay." Michael sat in the chair by the window, watched Jessica curl up with Emma's rabbit, watched her breathing slow, watched her finally find peace. And he thought about yesterday, about stopping in the rain, about bringing home a stranger who turned out to be exactly what he needed. Someone to save him back. The morning sun broke through the clouds. New day, new beginning. Michael closed his eyes, and for the first time in 1,000 nights, he didn't dream of Rachel dying. He dreamed of gardens growing, of laughter in empty houses, of second chances that come wearing combat boots and carrying everything they own in a single bag. He dreamed of 3 broken people becoming whole. Outside, the rain had stopped. The smell of burning woke Michael up. He bolted from the chair in Jessica's room, disoriented for a moment before reality snapped back. Morning, guest room, Jessica still asleep, clutching Emma's rabbit like a lifeline. The smell was coming from downstairs. Michael took the stairs 2 at a time and found Emma standing on a chair in front of the stove, wielding a spatula like a weapon. Smoke poured from a pan. "Emma, what are you doing?" "Making pancakes for Jessica." Emma's face was determined. "She was sad last night, so I wanted to make her happy." Michael grabbed the pan and dumped it in the sink. Black smoke hissed as water hit hot metal. "You know you're not allowed to use the stove alone." "But Dad—" "No buts. You could have burned the house down." Emma's lower lip trembled. "I just wanted to help." The fight went out of Michael. He pulled his daughter into a hug, breathing in her strawberry shampoo smell. "I know, baby, I know, but there are other ways to help, okay?" "Like what?" "I'm thinking," a voice said from the doorway. They both turned. Jessica stood there in yesterday's borrowed sweatpants, hair a mess, Emma's rabbit still tucked under one arm. She looked exhausted, but somehow more present than last night. "How about you let me make the pancakes?" Jessica said to Emma. "But I'm gonna need an assistant, someone to measure ingredients and taste test. You know anyone qualified?" Emma's face lit up like Christmas. "Me, I'm qualified." "I don't know." Jessica pretended to consider it. "This is serious business. These aren't just any pancakes. These are soldier pancakes. Army regulation. Very precise." "I can be precise." "All right then, report for duty, Private Emma." Emma actually saluted. Jessica saluted back crisp and proper, then caught Michael's eye over his daughter's head. A silent question, "Is this okay?" Michael nodded. "More than okay." Jessica moved around the kitchen with the kind of efficiency that came from cooking in war zones. Emma followed her like a shadow, completely absorbed. "First rule of soldier pancakes," Jessica said, pulling out flour. "They have to be thick enough to fill you up, but light enough that you don't fall asleep during morning drills." "What are drills?" "Practice, training, the stuff you do every day, so when something bad happens, your body knows what to do without thinking." Emma frowned. "Like how Dad makes me practice piano, even though I hate it. Exactly like that." Michael leaned against the counter watching them. Jessica's hands were steady as she cracked eggs, measured flour, whisked batter. None of the trembling from last night, but he could see the careful way she moved, like someone expecting something to explode. "Can I ask you something?" Emma said, pouring milk into the bowl. "Shoot." "Why did you have a bad dream last night?" Jessica's hand stilled for just a second. Michael was about to intervene, but she spoke first. "Sometimes our brains get stuck remembering scary things that happened, and at night, when we're sleeping, those memories come back as bad dreams." "What scary things happened to you?" "Emma," Michael warned, "it's okay." Jessica poured batter onto the griddle. "I was in a place where bad things happened. People I cared about got hurt, and sometimes my brain forgets that I'm not there anymore, forgets that I'm safe now." "But you are safe," Emma said with absolute certainty. "You're here with us." Jessica's voice went thick. Yeah, I am." The first batch of pancakes came off the griddle golden and perfect. Emma insisted they had to be arranged in a specific pattern on the plate, because soldier pancakes need soldier organization, right, Jessica? They ate at the kitchen table syrup and butter, and something that felt dangerously close to normal. Emma talked non-stop about school and her friend Sophie's pet hamster and the upcoming science fair. Jessica listened with real attention, asking questions, laughing at the right moments. Michael watched them and felt something shift in his chest. This house had been a tomb for 3 years, silent except for the sound of him and Emma tiptoeing around their grief. And now there was laughter, actual laughter. "These are really good," he said. Jessica shrugged. "Army teaches you to cook with whatever you've got. These are fancy compared to MRE pancakes." "What's an MRE?" Emma asked. "Meals ready to eat, military rations. Basically food that won't go bad and tastes like cardboard, had a baby with regret." Emma giggled. "That's gross." "You have no idea." After breakfast, Emma disappeared upstairs to get ready for school. Michael started clearing plates, and Jessica moved to help. "You don't have to," he started. "I want to." She ran water in the sink. "I need to do something. Sitting still makes my brain too loud." They washed dishes in silence for a minute. Then Jessica spoke quietly. "I'm sorry about last night, the nightmare, hitting you." Michael touched his jaw. There'd be a bruise. "Don't apologize. I could have hurt you worse, but you didn't." "Michael." She turned to face him, soapy water dripping from her hands. "You need to understand what you're dealing with here. I'm not just sad. I'm not just going through a rough patch. I have PTSD. I have panic attacks. I wake up screaming. Sometimes I forget where I am. Sometimes I think people are threats when they're not." "Okay. Her voice rose. "That's it. Just okay. What do you want me to say? That I'm scared? I'm not. That I want you to leave? I don't." "You should." "Well, I don't." Michael dried his hands. "Look, I'm not going to pretend I understand what you're going through. I don't. But I understand loss. I understand waking up and not knowing how to keep going. I understand feeling broken." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "And I understand that healing isn't linear," Michael continued. "Rachel taught me that. When she was sick, she had good days and bad days. Days where she seemed fine, and days where she couldn't get out of bed. It didn't make her weak, it made her human. This isn't the same thing." "No, but pain is pain, and you don't have to carry it alone." Jessica wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Why are you being so kind to me? Because someone needs to be. And because—" Michael paused, trying to find the right words. "Because for 3 years I've been going through the motions, existing but not living. And last night when you were having that nightmare, I felt something I haven't felt in forever. I felt needed. I felt useful. I felt like maybe there's still a point to all this. That's a lot of weight to put on a stranger. You're not a stranger anymore. You're the person who makes soldier pancakes with my daughter. That's basically family in this house." A laugh burst out of Jessica, watery but real. "You're insane." "Probably. Rachel always said my decision-making was questionable at best." Emma came thundering down the stairs, backpack bouncing. "Ready for school," Michael grabbed his keys. All right, let's go. Jessica, make yourself at home. Food in the fridge, TV, work sometimes, books in the living room. What should I do all day? Whatever you want. Rest, watch bad daytime television. Just be here when we get back. Jessica nodded. I'll be here. The drive to school was full of Emma's chatter about Jessica. Did Dad know Jessica could salute? Did Dad know she'd been to Afghanistan? Could Jessica stay forever? We'll see, Em. That's what you always say when you mean no. No, it's what I say when I mean we'll see. At the school drop-off, Emma hugged him tight. I like having Jessica at our house. It feels less sad. Yeah, baby, me too. Michael drove to his shop, Right Time Watch Repair, a small storefront that barely paid the bills but kept him sane. The familiar smell of oil and metal welcomed him. He had 3 repairs today. Should be enough to keep his mind occupied. It wasn't. All morning he kept thinking about Jessica alone in his house, wondering if she was okay, if she'd left, if she was safe. At noon, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hi, it's Jessica. Got your number from the contact list on your fridge. Hope that's okay. Just wanted you to know I'm still here. Haven't burned the house down or anything. Michael smiled and typed back, glad to hear it. See you tonight. The response came immediately. Looking forward to it. 3 simple words that made Michael's chest feel strange. When he picked up Emma after school, his daughter had a million questions ready. But the moment they pulled into the driveway, she went silent. The front steps were fixed. The railing that had been loose for 2 years was secure. The cracked boards replaced. The whole thing looked solid and new. Did you fix the steps? Emma asked. No. They went inside and found Jessica in the backyard. She'd changed into clothes from her duffel cargo pants and a tank top and was pulling weeds from what used to be Rachel's garden, the garden Michael hadn't been able to look at for 3 years. Jessica, Emma ran across the yard. You fixed the steps. Jessica straightened up, wiping dirt from her hands. Hope that's okay. I found tools in the garage. Needed something to do, and those steps were a lawsuit waiting to happen. Michael couldn't speak, could barely breathe. The garden was half cleared already. He could see the bones of Rachel's flower beds, the stepping stones she'd laid, the trellis she'd been planning to cover with roses. Michael, Jessica's voice was uncertain. Did I overstep? I can put everything back. No. His voice came out rough. No, this is, thank you. Your wife planted this. Jessica looked around at the overgrown mess. I can see what it used to be. The structure's still there under all the weeds. It was beautiful once. She spent every weekend out here, called it her therapy. Smart woman. Jessica pulled another weed. Gardens are good therapy. You put something broken back together, make something grow, see progress. Emma was already exploring, finding treasures under the weeds. Dad, look, Mom's fairy statue. Michael walked over. The little concrete fairy Rachel had loved, half buried in dirt. He'd forgotten it was out here. Can we clean the garden? Emma asked. Please. I don't know, Em. I'll help, Jessica offered quietly. If you want, no pressure. Michael looked at the garden, at Jessica with dirt under her fingernails, at Emma holding Rachel's fairy like it was made of gold. Okay, he said. Yeah, let's clean the garden. They worked until sunset. Emma pulled weeds with fierce determination. Jessica worked methodically, carefully uncovering each plant, each stone, each piece of Rachel's vision. Michael mostly stood there, overwhelmed by the sight of his dead wife's dream coming back to life. Your wife had good taste, Jessica said, kneeling by a rose bush that had somehow survived 3 years of neglect. These are knockout roses, practically indestructible. She knew what she was doing. She researched everything, spent months planning this garden. Did she get to finish it? No, she got sick right after she planted everything, never got to see it bloom. Jessica touched the rosebush gently. Then we'll make it bloom for her. Something in Michael's chest cracked open. He had to turn away before the tears came. That night, after Emma was in bed, Michael found Jessica in the kitchen making tea. "You don't have to leave tomorrow," he said. Jessica's hands stilled on the kettle. "What? Stay as long as you need, a week, a month, however long." "Michael, I know what you're going to say, that it's too much, that you're imposing, that you don't want charity." He sat down at the table. "But this isn't charity. You fixed my steps. You're bringing my wife's garden back to life. You make my daughter smile. You're helping us. Let us help you back. I don't have money for rent. I don't want money. I want—" Michael struggled to find the words. "I want this house to feel alive again. I want Emma to have someone else to talk to. I want to not feel so alone all the time." Jessica sat down across from him. "You're really serious?" "Yeah. What if I have another nightmare? Then I'll be there. What if I break something? What if I can't handle being around people? What if I make things worse? Then we'll figure it out. Together." Jessica looked at him for a long time. "Why are you doing this?" "Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but yesterday I was drowning in my own life, and today I fixed dinner without burning it, laughed at breakfast, and spent the evening in a garden I couldn't even look at for 3 years. You did that, just by being here. That's not me. That's you choosing to live again. Maybe, but I couldn't do it alone. I needed a reason. You're my reason." Tears spilled down Jessica's face. "That's too much pressure." "Then don't think about it like that. Think about it like this: two broken people trying to put each other back together. No pressure, no expectations, just trying." Jessica wiped her eyes. "I have a VA appointment next week. Therapy. They want me to come in twice a week." "Okay. And I need to start looking for a job, something to do. I can't just sit around. The hardware store downtown is always hiring, or there's the VA transition program." "You've thought about this?" "I might have Googled some things while you were in the shower yesterday." Jessica laughed, actually laughed. "You're something else, Michael Wright. Is that a yes?" She took a deep breath. "Yeah, okay, I'll stay. For a while." "Good." They sat in comfortable silence, drinking tea, in a kitchen that finally felt warm again. Over the next week, a routine developed. Jessica woke early, military habit, and made coffee. Michael would stumble down to find her reading at the kitchen table, usually something heavy from his bookshelf. They'd talk quietly before Emma woke up, comfortable conversation that felt like they'd known each other for years instead of days. Jessica started therapy at the VA. She'd come back exhausted, emotionally wrung out, but she kept going. Michael never asked what she talked about, just made sure there was hot tea waiting when she got home. She spent hours in the garden, slowly bringing it back from the dead. Emma helped after school, the two of them working side by side. Michael would watch from the kitchen window, amazed at how natural they looked together. One afternoon, he came home early and found Jessica in his workshop. "Sorry," she said immediately. "I was looking for a screwdriver and got distracted. These are incredible." She was holding one of his watches, a pocket watch he'd restored last month. "You fix these?" Jessica examined it closely. "This is art. It's just fixing broken things." "No, it's bringing broken things back to life. There's a difference." Jessica set the watch down carefully. "Do you ever think about how watches and people are similar?" "How do you mean?" "All these tiny parts working together. One piece breaks and the whole thing stops. But if you're patient enough, careful enough, you can fix it. Make it work again." Michael smiled. "Yeah, I think about that a lot." "Is that why you do it?" "Honestly, I started because I needed something precise. Something with clear rules. You follow the steps, you fix the watch. It's not complicated. Unlike people." "Unlike people." Jessica picked up another watch. "Could you teach me to fix watches?" "Yeah, I need something to do with my hands. Something that requires focus. Therapy's helping, but I need more, something concrete." Michael considered it. "It takes patience, steady hands, attention to detail. I was a sniper in Afghanistan. Patience and steady hands are kind of my thing." All right then, tomorrow I'll teach you. Jessica's smile was the real thing, bright and genuine and beautiful. That night, Emma insisted on showing Jessica her rock collection. Michael listened from downstairs to their voices, Emma's excited chatter and Jessica's patient responses. This one's from the beach. Dad took me last summer, and this one's from the park. And this one I found in the driveway, but Dad says it's probably just gravel, but I think it's special. They're all special if they matter to you. Do you have collections? I used to collect postcards from every place I got stationed. I'd send them to myself so I'd remember. Where are they now? A pause. I don't know, I left them somewhere, can't remember where. That's sad. Yeah, but maybe I can start a new collection. Rocks, maybe, if you'll help me find good ones. Yes, tomorrow after school we'll look, I know, all the best spots. Michael's throat tightened. He hadn't heard Emma this happy since before Rachel died. Later, after Emma was asleep, Jessica came downstairs. She's a great kid. She likes you. I like her too. She's easy to be around, doesn't expect anything. That's Rachel in her. My wife had this way of making people feel comfortable, like they could just be themselves. Jessica sat on the couch. You talk about her a lot. Rachel. Is that okay? More than okay, it's nice. Most people act like the dead never existed, like talking about them is painful, so we just don't. It was painful for a long time, but now, Michael sat down too. Now it feels good, remembering the good stuff instead of just the loss. What was she like? So Michael told her about Rachel's laugh that was too loud for movie theaters, about how she couldn't fold fitted sheets to save her life, about her collection of terrible puns, about how she'd rescue spiders instead of killing them, about the way she'd dance in the kitchen while making dinner. Jessica listened to all of it, and somewhere in the telling, Michael realized he was smiling, really smiling. She sounds wonderful, Jessica said. She was. I'm sorry you lost her. Me too. But I think... Michael paused, choosing his words carefully. I think she'd be happy about this, about you being here. She always said our house was too big for just two people, that we should fill it up with life. I'm not sure a broken soldier counts as life. You're not broken. You're healing. There's a difference. Jessica's eyes got wet. You keep saying things like that, like you actually believe it. I do believe it. I see it every day. You're getting better, Jessica. Maybe slowly, maybe not in a straight line, but better. Some days I don't feel better. Some days I feel like I'm drowning. I know, but drowning people don't fix steps and plant gardens and learn to fix watches. Drowning people don't make pancakes with 8-year-olds. You're not drowning anymore. You're swimming. Jessica wiped her eyes. How did you get so wise? 3 years of therapy and a daughter who asks too many hard questions. They both laughed. Outside, rain started falling again. Not the violent storm from the night they met, but soft and steady. The sound of it filled the quiet house. Thank you, Jessica said quietly, for stopping that night, for bringing me here, for letting me stay, for giving me a reason to keep trying. Thank you for fixing my steps, for cleaning Rachel's garden, for making my daughter laugh, for reminding me what it feels like to be alive. They sat together in the dark living room, listening to rain, two people who'd been drowning finding their way back to shore. And for the first time since Rachel died, Michael looked at the future and didn't just see empty days stretching ahead. He saw possibility. He saw hope. He saw a garden blooming and a house full of laughter and second chances growing like flowers from broken ground. He saw life beginning again. 3 weeks passed like water finding its level. Jessica fell into the rhythm of the house so naturally that Michael sometimes forgot she hadn't always been there. She learned to fix watches with the same precision she'd once used for rifle sights. Her hands stopped shaking when she worked on the tiny gears and springs. Emma flourished. Michael would catch the two of them in the garden, Jessica teaching his daughter the names of flowers Rachel had planted, or in the kitchen making increasingly elaborate pancake shapes. or sitting on the porch steps, Jessica telling carefully edited stories about places she'd been. It was almost too easy. Too good. Michael kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped on a Tuesday. Emma had left her lunch on the kitchen counter and Michael grabbed it to run to school before her teacher called. He was halfway to the car when he realized he'd also grabbed Jessica's duffel bag by mistake. Same olive green canvas, same worn handles. He set it down to switch bags, and the zipper, already half open, gave way completely. Contents spilled across the driveway. Michael knelt to gather everything: clothes, toiletries, a small photo album, and a manila envelope that had fallen open, papers sliding out. He shouldn't have looked. He knew that, but his eyes caught the letterhead before he could stop himself. Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, Psychiatric Department. His hands moved on their own, unfolding the document. Patient Carter Jessica L., SSG. Diagnosis: post-traumatic stress disorder, severe, major depressive disorder, admitted following suicide attempt via overdose. Patient found unconscious in barracks by fellow soldier, resuscitated, psychiatric hold initiated. The words blurred. Michael's chest went tight. Discharge recommendation. Patient demonstrates ongoing suicidal ideation and inability to cope with return to civilian life. Discharge for mental health reasons approved. Patient requires immediate outpatient care and should not be left unsupervised. Should not be left unsupervised. Michael read it again. Then again. His hands were shaking. Jessica had told him about the suicide attempt, about being lost. But this was different. This was clinical. This was a doctor saying she was a danger to herself. This was dated 2 weeks before he'd found her at that bus stop. 2 weeks. She'd been out of psychiatric care for 2 weeks when she got in his car, when he brought her to his house, to his daughter. Michael, he looked up. Jessica stood in the doorway, her face going white as she saw what he was holding. I can explain. You were in psychiatric hold. His voice sounded strange, distant. They said you shouldn't be unsupervised. Michael, please. You tried to kill yourself. Not just thought about it, actually tried. He stood up, papers still in his hand. And then you got in a car with my daughter, stayed in my house, around my child. Jessica's face crumpled. I would never hurt Emma, never. You have to know that. I don't know that I don't know anything. Michael's voice rose. I thought I did. I thought I knew you, but this... He waved the papers. Jessica flinched like he'd hit her. You lied to me. I didn't lie. I told you about the attempt. You didn't tell me it was 2 weeks before I met you. You didn't tell me doctors said you needed supervision. You didn't tell me... Michael stopped, took a breath. What else haven't you told me? Nothing. I swear, that's everything. How can I believe you? The question hung between them like broken glass. Jessica's voice went very small. You can't. I know you can't. And you're right to be angry. You're right to want me gone. I didn't say that, but you're thinking it. Tears streamed down her face. You're thinking about your daughter, about what could happen, about what kind of person brings a suicidal stranger into their home. Stop. It's what I'd think too. Jessica's laugh was bitter. God, what was I thinking? That I could just play house, pretend to be normal. I'm not normal, Michael. I'm broken. I'm dangerous. That's what the doctors said. That's what's in those papers you're holding. Jessica, I'll pack my stuff. Be out in 20 minutes. She turned to go inside. Michael's voice stopped her. Where will you go? Jessica didn't turn around. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Why does it matter? She spun back, angry now. You don't owe me anything. You picked me up out of kindness, and I've repaid you by lying, by putting your daughter at risk, by being exactly what those papers say I am. And what's that? Broken beyond repair. The words echoed in the quiet street. A neighbor's dog barked. A car drove past. Normal morning sounds in a moment that was anything but normal. Michael set the papers down on the hood of his car, carefully, deliberately. Come inside. Michael, please, just come inside. They sat at the kitchen table. The same table where they'd had breakfast an hour ago, laughing about Emma's insistence that dinosaurs could have been purple. That felt like a lifetime ago now. Michael made tea, muscle memory, something to do with his hands while his brain tried to process everything. "Talk to me," he said finally. "All of it. No editing, no protecting me, just the truth." Jessica wrapped her hands around her mug. They were shaking again. "I was on my 4th deployment, Afghanistan. We were doing routine patrol in a village we'd cleared a dozen times before. It was supposed to be safe." Her voice was flat, reciting facts. "We got separated from our unit. Me and 3 others, Thompson, Rodriguez, and Marsh. We'd worked together for 2 years. They were my friends." She stopped, swallowed hard. "IED, improvised explosive device. We didn't see it, didn't know it was there. Thompson was walking point. Her voice broke. "He was 23, engaged. His fiancée was pregnant." Michael's chest ached. Rodriguez was next to him. They both died instantly. Marsh lost his legs. I was far enough back that I just got thrown. Concussion, shrapnel in my shoulder. Nothing major, nothing that mattered. Jessica. I was the only one who walked away whole, the only one. And I kept thinking, why me? Why did I get to live when Thompson had a baby coming, when Rodriguez had a mom who needed him, when Marsh loved to run, and now he'll never run again? Tears were flowing freely now. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, kept seeing it over and over, kept hearing the explosion, kept smelling. She stopped. They sent me to Walter Reed, said I needed help, gave me pills, therapy, but nothing helped because nothing could change the fact that I was alive, and they weren't. So you tried to end it. I took every pill they'd given me, all at once, thought if I couldn't save them, at least I could stop being the one who survived. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Marsh found me. He rolled his wheelchair into my room and found me unconscious. He saved my life, even though he hates me for being whole when he's not. He doesn't hate you. You don't know that. I know that survivor's guilt is a liar. I know that being alive isn't a betrayal. I know because I felt the same way after Rachel died. Jessica looked up surprised. When the cancer took her, I kept thinking, why her? Why not me? She was good, she helped people, she mattered, and I was just some guy who fixed watches. The world didn't need me, it needed her. Michael's voice was rough. I didn't try to end it like you did, but I stopped living. I let myself fade away, and that's a kind of dying too. How did you stop? I didn't. Not until Emma said something that broke through. She was 6, maybe 8 months after Rachel died. She asked me if I thought Mommy would be sad that Daddy was sad all the time. Michael had to stop, breathe. She said Mommy always wanted us to be happy, and that maybe being sad forever was like saying Mommy's love didn't matter. Smart kid. Too smart. But she was right. Rachel would have hated watching me disappear, would have been furious that I was wasting the life she fought so hard to keep. Jessica wiped her eyes. Your friends Thompson, Rodriguez, Marsh, they wouldn't want you to die either. Marsh told me that, in the hospital. Said I was dishonoring their sacrifice by giving up, that if I wanted to honor them, I needed to live. Really live, not just exist. She laughed bitterly. I was so angry at him. How dare he tell me how to grieve? But he was right. So you got discharged? Yeah, they said I was unfit for duty. Gave me papers and sent me away. Like I was broken equipment they couldn't fix. Her voice hardened. And maybe I am. Maybe those doctors were right. Maybe I am too damaged to be around people. Stop. Michael's voice was firm. You're not damaged. You're hurt. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Damaged means beyond repair. Hurt means healing is possible. He reached across the table, took her shaking hands in his. You're healing, Jessica. I see it every day. The nightmares are less frequent. Your hands don't shake as much. You laugh more. You're getting better. But what if I'm not? What if I have another breakdown? What if next time it's worse? Then we'll deal with it together. You keep saying that, together, but why? Why would you risk it? Michael thought about it, really thought about it. Because 3 weeks ago you fixed my steps, and that simple act, fixing something broken, it woke something up in me, made me realize that broken things can be repaired, that damage isn't permanent, that with enough care and patience and time, even the most shattered things can work again. I'm not a broken step, Michael. No, you're a person, which makes it harder, but also more important. He squeezed her hands. You were right when you said watches and people are similar. All these tiny parts working together. One piece breaks and everything stops. But if you're patient, if you're careful, you can fix it, make it work again. Maybe not like new, maybe with scars, but working, living, ticking forward. Jessica was crying harder now. I'm scared, she whispered. I'm so scared that I'll break again, that I'll hurt you or Emma, that I'll prove everyone right about me being too damaged to save. We're all a little broken, Michael said softly. That's how the light gets in. Jessica looked at him through tears. Rachel used to say that, said our cracks and scars are what make us human, what make us beautiful, what let other people's light shine through. Michael's own eyes were wet now. You're not too broken, Jessica. You're exactly broken enough to let the light in. They sat there, hands clasped across the table, both crying. Outside, a school bus drove past. Life continuing while they fell apart and put each other back together. Finally, Jessica spoke. I should have told you about the timeline, about what the doctors said. You deserved to know before you let me around Emma. Yeah, you should have. I'm sorry. I know. Are you going to ask me to leave? Michael thought about it, really thought about it. Thought about Emma's laughter, about the garden coming back to life, about mornings over coffee and evenings over tea, about feeling alive again. No, I'm not going to ask you to leave. Why not? Because I'm not ready to say goodbye, because Emma needs you, because the house needs you, because I need you. He paused. But I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. If you're struggling, you tell me. If you're having dark thoughts, you tell me. If you need help, you tell me. No more pretending everything's fine when it's not. Jessica nodded. I promise. And you keep going to therapy, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I will. And you remember that you're not alone anymore. You have people. You have us. Fresh tears spilled down Jessica's face. Okay. They cleaned up the papers together, put everything back in Jessica's duffel. Michael zipped it carefully and put it in the hall closet where it belonged. Thank you, Jessica said, for not giving up on me. Thank you for not giving up on yourself. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Jessica's words, about Thompson and Rodriguez and Marsh, about survivors' guilt and broken people and second chances. Around 2 a.m., he heard it. A scream, desperate and terrified. He was in Jessica's room before his brain fully registered. He was moving. She was tangled in sheets, thrashing eyes open, but seeing something else, somewhere else. Get down, get down. Her voice was raw. Thompson, get back. Please, God, get back. Jessica. Michael grabbed her shoulders. You're safe. You're in Portland. You're safe. She swung at him, connected with his already bruised jaw. He held on. Jessica, look at me. Look at me. But she couldn't. She was somewhere else, watching her friends die, unable to stop it, unable to save them. Michael did the only thing he could think of. He sat on the bed and pulled her against his chest, wrapping his arms around her. You're safe, he said softly, over and over. You're safe. I've got you. You're safe. I've got you. Slowly, her thrashing stopped. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes focused. Michael. Yeah, it's me. I was there. I was watching it happen again. I could see. Her voice broke. I could see Thompson. He was smiling. He was telling me about the baby's nursery. And then, I know, she collapsed against him, sobbing. Michael held her, rocking slightly like he used to do with Emma after nightmares. Just being there, being solid, being real. Emma appeared in the doorway, clutching her rabbit. "Is Jessica okay?" "She had a bad dream, Em. A really bad one." Emma walked over and climbed onto the bed. She took Jessica's hand and just held it. Didn't say anything, just sat there holding on. Jessica looked at her, at this 8-year-old child who'd seen too much pain in her short life, who understood loss, who knew how to sit with someone in their darkness without trying to fix it. "I'm sorry," Jessica whispered to Emma. "I'm sorry I scared you." "It's okay. We all have bad dreams." Emma squeezed her hand. "But it helps when people stay with you. Right, Dad? Right. So we'll stay with you." Emma settled against Jessica's side like it was the most natural thing in the world, until the bad dream goes away. Michael met Jessica's eyes over his daughter's head, saw the wonder there, the disbelief, the gratitude. They sat like that for a long time, 3 broken people holding each other in the dark. Emma fell asleep first, her small body warm and trusting against Jessica's side. "She shouldn't have to deal with this," Jessica said quietly. "With me. With my nightmares. She's tougher than you think. And she loves you. I love her too, both of you." Jessica's voice was thick. "I don't know what I did to deserve this, to deserve you. You didn't have to do anything. You just had to be brave enough to get in the car that night, to accept help, to stay. I almost didn't, almost told you to leave me there. But you didn't." "No, I didn't." Jessica touched Emma's hair softly. "Thank God I didn't." They sat in silence for a while. Then Jessica spoke again. "When I was standing at that bus stop, I'd given up. Completely. I wasn't waiting for anything because I didn't believe anything good was coming. I thought my life was over, thought the best parts of me died in that explosion with my friends. And now I think maybe they'd want me to live, really live, not just survive." She looked at Michael. "You showed me that, you and Emma. You showed me that broken people can still have good lives, can still matter, can still have purpose. You always had purpose, you just couldn't see it. I can see it now. It's right here, in this room, in this house, in this family that somehow decided I was worth keeping." Michael's throat was tight. "You are worth keeping." "I'm starting to believe that." Emma stirred in her sleep, mumbling something about purple dinosaurs. They both smiled. "We should try to sleep," Michael said. "It's late. Will you stay, both of you?" Jessica's voice was small, vulnerable. "Just for tonight." "Yeah, we'll stay." Michael settled back against the headboard, Emma curled between them. Jessica rested her head on his shoulder. Outside, rain started to fall, soft and steady. The sound of it filled the quiet room. "Michael," Jessica's voice was drowsy. "Yeah, thank you for seeing past the broken parts, for finding something worth saving. You saved yourself, Jessica. I just gave you a safe place to do it." "We saved each other," she whispered. "That's how it works, right? We save each other." "Yeah, that's exactly how it works." They fell asleep like that. 3 people who'd been drowning separately now floating together. 3 people who'd lost everything now finding something new. 3 people who proved that families aren't just born, they're built. From broken pieces, from second chances, from strangers who become home. And in the morning when they woke up tangled together like they'd always been this way, Michael realized something. The worst had happened. Jessica's secrets were out. Her demons had shown up, and they'd survived it together. If they could survive that, they could survive anything. The light was already streaming through the windows when Emma woke up first. She looked at Jessica and Michael still sleeping and smiled. Then she very carefully extracted herself and tiptoed downstairs. When Michael came down 20 minutes later, he found her making pancakes. Badly, but making them. "What are you doing?" "Making breakfast for Jessica, because she had a bad night and pancakes make everything better." Michael's heart swelled. "Need help?" "Yes, please." They made pancakes together, and when Jessica came down, eyes still red from crying but smiling tentatively, Emma presented her with a plate of misshapen pancakes, drowning in syrup. I made soldier pancakes, Emma announced proudly. They're not as good as yours, but Dad helped and we tried really hard. Jessica looked at the plate, at Emma's hopeful face, at Michael standing in the kitchen where his dead wife used to make breakfast, and she started to cry. But this time they were good tears, happy tears, tears that said maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. They're perfect, Jessica said, pulling Emma into a hug. They're absolutely perfect. And in that moment, in that kitchen, with burnt pancakes and too much syrup and 3 people who'd been broken finding their way to whole, everything was. The burnt pancakes became a tradition. Every Saturday morning, Emma insisted on making them, and every Saturday morning they turned out slightly less terrible than the week before. Jessica supervised, offering tips that Emma mostly ignored, and Michael pretended not to notice that his daughter was getting better at cooking than he'd ever been. 6 weeks turned into 2 months. The calendar pages flipped and the world outside kept moving, but inside the blue house, something was shifting, growing, becoming. Jessica's therapy sessions at the VA became routine. Twice a week she'd come home exhausted, sometimes quiet, sometimes talkative. Michael learned to read which she needed space or company. On the quiet days, he'd work in his shop while she sat in the garden. On the talkative days, they'd have tea and she'd tell him what she was learning about herself. My therapist says I'm making progress, Jessica said one evening. They were in the kitchen, her hands steady as she worked on a pocket watch Michael had given her to practice on. She says I'm starting to separate the past from the present, that I'm learning to live in the now instead of the then. That's good, right? Yeah, it's good. It's just hard. Jessica adjusted her magnifying glass. Sometimes I don't want to let go, like if I stop thinking about Thompson and Rodriguez every second I'm forgetting them, betraying them. You're not forgetting them. You're honoring them by living. That's what my therapist says, too. Jessica smiled slightly. You two would get along. Emma bounded into the kitchen, backpack still on. Jessica, guess what? You discovered dinosaurs are actually still alive. No, but that would be cool. No, I got picked for the science fair, me and Sophie. We get to do a project together. Jessica high-fived her. That's amazing. What are you going to do? We don't know yet. Dad, can you help us think of something? Michael looked up from the bills he was pretending to understand. How about volcanoes? Everyone loves volcanoes. Dad, that's boring. Everyone does volcanoes. Emma turned to Jessica. What about something with plants? From the garden, we could show how things grow. Jessica's face lit up. That's actually brilliant. You could document the growth cycle. Show how something that looks dead can come back with the right care, Si. Yes, perfect. Emma was already pulling out her notebook. We can take pictures every day and measure the stems and make charts. Michael watched them huddle over Emma's notebook, planning and scheming. 2 months ago, this kitchen had been silent except for the sound of his and Emma's careful steps around each other. Now it was full of life and noise and plans for the future. That night, after Emma was asleep, Jessica asked if she could work in his shop. You don't have to ask, Michael said. It's your space too now. Is it though? Jessica's voice was uncertain. I mean, I'm still just staying here temporarily, right? Michael set down the watch he was working on. Is that what you think? That this is temporary? I don't know what to think. We said a few days, then a few weeks, but we never actually talked about long term. Do you want to leave? No, God, no, but I don't want to overstay either. Don't want to be the person who doesn't know when to go. Michael turned his chair to face her fully. Jessica, you're not overstaying. You're not a guest anymore. He paused, trying to find the right words. You're part of this family, part of this house, part of our lives. And if you want to stay, really stay, then stay. Jessica's eyes filled with tears. You mean that? Every word. Emma loves you. I love having you here. The house feels alive again. Why would I want that to end? Because I'm broken, because I have nightmares, because I'm a lot of work. We're all a lot of work. That's what family is, choosing to do the work anyway. Jessica wiped her eyes. Family, Yeah, family. She crossed the small workshop and hugged him. Michael held her, feeling her shake slightly. Not from trauma this time, from relief, from joy, from finally having a place to belong. Thank you, she whispered. Dear, thank you for giving me a home. Thank you for bringing ours back to life. The next day, Jessica came home from therapy with news. The VA has a transition program. They help veterans find jobs, get training, reintegrate. My therapist recommended I apply. That sounds great. There's a position open, working with other vets who are struggling, helping them navigate the system. My therapist thinks I'd be good at it because I've been through it. You'd be incredible at it. Jessica bit her lip. It would mean regular hours, an actual job, a paycheck. I could contribute to rent and groceries and... Jessica, you already contribute. You fixed half the things in this house. You watch Emma after school. You cook dinner most nights. That's not the same as actually paying my way. It's exactly the same. But if you want the job, if it would make you happy, then go for it. Just don't do it because you think you owe me something. I do owe you something. I owe you everything. No, you don't owe me anything. That's not how this works. We help each other. That's it. No debts, no scorekeeping. Jessica looked at him for a long moment. How did you get so good at this? At what? At making broken people feel whole. I'm not good at it. I'm just doing what Rachel would have done, what she did for me when I needed it. That night, Jessica applied for the position. 2 weeks later, she got the call. She'd gotten the job. Emma insisted they celebrate with a party. A real party, with decorations and cake and everything. We need streamers, Emma announced, and balloons, and a banner that says, "Congratulations, Jessica," in really big letters. That's a lot, Em. It's important Dad Jessica got a real job. That's huge. She wasn't wrong. Michael drove to the party store and let Emma pick out everything. They spent the afternoon decorating while Jessica was at her orientation. Streamers across the kitchen, balloons in every corner, a banner that Emma had insisted on making herself complete, with glitter that would probably still be finding weeks later. When Jessica came home, she stood in the doorway and stared. Surprise? Emma jumped up and down. We threw you a party. You guys didn't have to. We wanted to, Michael said. This is a big deal. You should celebrate. Jessica's face did that thing it did when she was trying not to cry. I've never had a job celebration before. Well, you do now? Emma grabbed her hand. Come on, we made cake. Well, Dad made cake. I helped. It's a little crooked, but it tastes good. The cake was indeed crooked, and the frosting was lumpy. But when they sang and Jessica blew out the candles, her smile was the realest thing Michael had seen in months. Make a wish, Emma demanded. Jessica closed her eyes, wished, then opened them and looked at Michael and Emma. It already came true, she said softly. The garden was nearly finished now. What had been an overgrown mess 2 months ago was transforming into something beautiful. Rachel's vision was emerging from the weeds, like a photograph developing. Jessica had researched every plant, learned their names, their needs, their stories. She and Emma worked out there every afternoon, hands in the dirt, bringing life back to what had been left for dead. Your mom knew what she was doing, Jessica said one Saturday. She was kneeling by the rose bushes, carefully pruning. These varieties are perfect for Portland's climate, hardy, beautiful, low maintenance once established. Emma was digging holes for new bulbs. Do you think she'd like what we're doing? I think she'd love it. Michael watched from the kitchen window. He'd been doing that a lot lately, watching Jessica and Emma in the garden. Sometimes he joined them, but often he just watched, amazed at what they'd created together. Dad, Emma called. Come help. We're planting the tulip bulbs. Michael went outside. The air smelled like rain and earth and possibility. Jessica handed him a trowel. Red tulips here, she said, pointing. Rachel had them marked on her original plan. See? She showed him a weathered notebook they'd found in the garage. Rachel's handwriting filled the pages. Sketches of the garden, lists of plants, notes about when to plant what. Michael's throat tightened. He'd forgotten about this notebook. hadn't been able to look at it after she died. She was really talented, Jessica said quietly. This garden design is professional level. She took a class at the community college, said if she was going to do it, she was going to do it right. Sounds like her. Michael looked at Jessica. You never met her. How do you know what she sounded like? You talk about her all the time, and every story, every single one, she's doing things all the way. No half measures, no shortcuts, just full commitment to whatever she cared about, including dying, Michael said before he could stop himself. The words hung in the air. Emma looked up from her bulb planting. Jessica didn't flinch, including that. She fought hard, didn't she? Until the very end. Even when the doctors said there was no point, even when I begged her to just rest, to stop fighting, she kept going, said she wasn't ready to leave us yet. She sounds like a warrior. She was. Michael's eyes stung. She really was. Emma stood up and hugged him, just wrapped her dirt-covered arms around his waist and held on. Jessica joined them, and for a moment they stood in the half-finished garden, 3 people holding each other up. I think Mom would like Jessica, Emma said into his shirt. Don't you think so, Dad? Yeah, baby, I think she'd like her a lot. That evening, after Emma was in bed, Jessica found Michael in his workshop. He was working on a particularly difficult repair, an antique pocket watch that someone's grandfather had carried through World War II. Can I tell you something? Jessica asked. Always. When I first got here, I thought this was temporary, a safe place to crash until I figured out my next move. I thought I'd stay a few days, get my feet under me, and move on. I know. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being temporary. This house, this family, you and Emma, you became my reason to keep trying, my reason to believe maybe I could have a life after everything that happened. Michael set down his tools. You're the reason we're living again, too. You know that, right? I'm starting to understand it. My therapist says I have trouble accepting that I deserve good things, that I punish myself for surviving when others didn't. But being here with you two, it's getting harder to believe I don't deserve this. Good, because you do deserve it. You deserve every bit of happiness you can find. Jessica was quiet for a moment. Then, tell me something happy about Rachel, something I don't know. Michael thought about it. For 3 years, every memory of Rachel had been tinged with sadness, with loss, with the ache of missing her. But lately, when he thought about her, the pain was softer, the memories sweeter. She couldn't dance, he said, like at all. No rhythm, no coordination, but she loved to dance anyway, would put on music in the kitchen and just flail around laughing at herself. Said the point wasn't to be good at it. The point was to feel the music. Jessica smiled. I love that. At our wedding, she insisted on choreographing this elaborate first dance, watched YouTube videos for weeks, practiced every night, and then on the actual day, she forgot every single step, just grabbed me and improvised. It was a disaster. It was perfect. I wish I could have seen that. Me too. Michael's voice was soft. I wish you could have known her. You two would have been friends. You think, I know, Rachel loved people who'd been through hard things, said they had more depth, more empathy, more life in them. She sounds wise. She was. Is. I don't know. Grief makes verb tenses complicated. Jessica laughed. It really does. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Jessica had gotten good at watch repair. Her hands were steady now, confident. She approached each piece with the same care she gave to the garden, the same care she gave to Emma, the same care she gave to herself now. Jessica, Michael said after a while, yeah. I'm proud of you, for the job, for therapy, for staying, for fighting, for all of it. Her hands stilled on the watch she was working on. Thank you. That means more than you know. I mean it. You're incredible. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I'm here too. The weeks turned into months. Summer faded into fall. The garden bloomed and then prepared for winter. Emma's science fair project won second place. Jessica's job at the VA became a regular routine. the house filled with life and laughter and the ordinary magic of people choosing each other every day. One evening in late October, Michael found Jessica in the garden. She was sitting on the bench Rachel had installed, looking at the flowers swaying in the breeze. "Penny, for your thoughts," he asked. Jessica patted the bench beside her. Michael sat. "I was just thinking about how different I am now from the person standing at that bus stop. That version of me was ready to give up, ready to disappear. And now?" She gestured at the garden, at the house beyond. "Now I have reasons to stay, to fight, to live. The garden looks beautiful. It really does. We did good work here. You did good work here. We did it together. That's the important part." Jessica turned to look at him. "I couldn't have done any of this alone. The garden, the job, the healing, none of it would have happened without you and Emma. We just gave you space to grow. You did the actual growing. That's very poetic for a watch repairman." Michael laughed. "Rachel always said I had a secret romantic side. I just hide it under layers of practicality. She was right about a lot of things." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. In the house, Emma was probably reading in bed, flashlight under the covers, like she thought they didn't know about. "Can I ask you something?" Jessica said. "Anything. Are you happy, really happy? Because I know having me here has been complicated. The nightmares, the therapy, all of it. And I just want to make sure I'm not—" "Stop." Michael took her hand. "I'm happier than I've been in 3 years. This house is alive again. Emma is thriving. I'm actually living instead of just surviving, and that's because of you." "I was going to say the same thing about you. Then we saved each other, just like we said we would." Jessica squeezed his hand. "Yeah, I guess we did." A light came on in Emma's window. They could hear her singing off-key and enthusiastic, just like Rachel used to sing. "She's so much like her mother," Jessica said softly. "More every day. It used to hurt to see it. But now," Michael's voice caught, "now I'm grateful, like having a piece of Rachel still here, still making noise and causing chaos and bringing joy. You're a good dad, Michael. I'm trying to be. You are. Emma knows she's loved. She knows she's safe. She knows she matters. That's everything." Michael thought about the scared, broken man he'd been 6 months ago. The one who could barely get through each day. The one who'd stopped seeing colors or feeling joy or believing in second chances. That man would have driven past the bus stop, would have kept going, would have missed all of this. "Do you believe in fate?" he asked suddenly. Jessica considered it. "I used to not. Used to think everything was random. But now," she looked at the garden, at the house, at him. "Now I think maybe some things are meant to happen. Maybe I was meant to be at that bus stop. Maybe you were meant to stop. Maybe we were meant to find each other. Maybe we were meant to save each other. Yeah, maybe that too." Inside, Emma called out, "Dad, Jessica, come look at the stars. There's so many." They went inside and up to Emma's room. The three of them crowded at the window, looking out at the clear autumn sky. "Make a wish," Emma said. "On the brightest star. That's what Mom always said to do." Michael looked at the brightest star, closed his eyes, but he couldn't think of anything to wish for. Everything he needed was right here in this room. He opened his eyes and found Jessica watching him. She smiled, small and knowing. She understood. She felt it too. This was enough. This moment, this family they'd built from broken pieces. This life they'd created from loss and pain and the courage to keep trying. This was everything. "I wished for a puppy," Emma announced. "I know you're going to say no, but I wished for it anyway." "Emma, I know, we're not ready, but maybe someday." Michael looked at Jessica. She shrugged, smiling. "Maybe someday," he conceded. Emma cheered and hugged them both, and they stood there in her room under the poster-covered walls, 3 people who'd found their way home to each other. Later, after Emma was finally asleep, Michael and Jessica sat on the porch steps. The night was cool, but not cold yet, the last warm days of fall before winter set in. "Thank you," Jessica said. "For what?" for stopping, for staying, for seeing something worth saving in me. Thank you for being brave enough to get in the car, for staying even when it was hard, for choosing to live. We make a good team. The best. They sat in comfortable silence, shoulder to shoulder, watching the stars emerge one by one in the darkening sky. Inside the house was warm and full. Outside the garden they'd built together waited for spring. And somewhere between the past that had broken them and the future they were building, Michael and Jessica found something neither had been looking for, but both desperately needed. They found home. Winter came early that year. The first snow fell on a Tuesday morning in late November, just as Jessica was leaving for work. She stood on the porch, coffee in hand, watching the flakes fall and coat the garden they'd worked so hard to restore. "It's beautiful," Emma said, appearing beside her in pajamas and mismatched socks. "Mom always loved the first snow." "Did she?" "Yeah, she said it was like the world getting a fresh start, everything covered up and new." Jessica smiled. "Your mom was smart." "She was, but you're smart too." Emma leaned against her. "I'm glad you're here, Jessica." "Me too, kiddo." That afternoon, Jessica's phone rang during her lunch break. The number was unfamiliar but local. She almost didn't answer. "Jessica Carter, this is Linda Chen from the VA's Regional Transition Program. Do you have a moment?" Jessica's heart kicked up. She'd heard about the regional program. It was the next level up from her current position. More responsibility, more pay, more everything. "Yes, of course. We've been watching your work with the Veteran Transition Group. Your supervisor says you're exceptional, that you connect with clients in a way most counselors can't, that you understand because you've been there." "I try my best." "We'd like to offer you a position as regional coordinator. You'd oversee 5 counties, train new counselors, develop programming. It's a significant step up, better benefits, better salary, a real career path." Jessica's hands went numb. Wow, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. The position starts in January. We'd need an answer by next week." After the call ended, Jessica sat in her car and stared at nothing. This was everything she'd worked toward. A real career, financial stability, a future that looked like success by any measure. So why did she feel like crying? She didn't tell Michael right away, didn't tell anyone. Just went home and made dinner and helped Emma with homework and pretended everything was normal. But Emma knew something was wrong. Kids always did. "Are you sad?" Emma asked while they were doing dishes. "No, baby, just thinking." "About what?" "About work stuff, grown-up things." "You can tell me. I'm almost 9. I understand grown-up things." Jessica smiled despite herself. "You're 8.5. That's basically 9. "Fair point." Jessica handed her a plate to dry. "Someone offered me a new job today, a bigger job, and I don't know if I should take it." "Why not?" "Is it a bad job?" "No, it's a great job, really great. It's just—" Jessica paused, trying to find words an 8-year-old would understand. "It would mean more responsibility, more time at work, less time here." Emma's face fell. "Oh. Yeah, oh. Would you have to move away?" No, nothing like that. I'd still live here. I'd just be busier. But we'd still do the garden together and make pancakes and talk about stuff. Of course, always." Emma thought about it, drying the plate with exaggerated care. "Mom used to say that good things are scary because we're afraid of losing them. Is that what this is? You're scared?" Jessica's throat went tight. "Yeah, I think that's exactly what this is." "Then you should talk to Dad. He's good at scary things." So that night, after Emma was in bed, Jessica told Michael about the offer. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, "That's incredible, Jess. You should take it." Just like that. "You don't want to think about it." "What's there to think about? It's a great opportunity. You'd be amazing at it. Of course you should take it." Jessica felt something twist in her chest. "It would mean longer hours, more travel. I wouldn't be here as much for Emma." "We'd figure it out. We always do." "Michael." Jessica's voice was sharper than she intended. Why are you making this so easy? What do you mean? I mean, she struggled to articulate the feeling. I thought you'd have an opinion, that you'd say something about how it would affect us, that you'd, I don't know, care. Michael set down the watch he'd been working on. Of course I care a lot. But this is your decision, Jessica. Your career, your life. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But what do you think I should do? I think you should do what makes you happy. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Michael's voice was gentle but firm. Jess, 6 months ago, you were standing at a bus stop ready to give up. Now you're being offered a dream job. That's incredible. That's everything you've worked for. I'm not going to be the reason you don't take it. Jessica felt tears building. What if I don't want to take it? Then don't. What if taking it means losing this? She gestured around the workshop at the house beyond. Losing us? Michael stood up and crossed to her, took her hands. You're not going to lose us. A job doesn't change what we are, what we've built here. But everything will change. I'll be busier, stressed, gone more. What if... Her voice broke. What if I'm not enough? What if I can't do the job and be part of this family? Hey, look at me. Michael waited until she met his eyes. You don't have to choose between having a career and having a family. Those aren't mutually exclusive things. Rachel worked. She had passions outside of being a mom and a wife. It didn't make her less present. It made her more herself. But I'm not Rachel. No, you're Jessica, and Jessica is exactly who this family needs. The tears spilled over. Jessica let them fall. I'm scared, Michael. I'm scared that if I take this job, I'll lose what we have here. And I can't lose this. I can't lose you and Emma. You're the only real family I've ever had. Michael pulled her into a hug. You're not going to lose us. We're not that fragile. This family isn't held together by proximity. It's held together by choice, by love, by showing up for each other, even when it's hard. Promise. I promise. And Jess, he pulled back to look at her. When you came into our lives, something started growing again. Not just the garden, us, me and Emma. We were frozen, dead inside, and you brought us back to life. A job can't take that away. Nothing can. Jessica pressed her face against his shoulder and cried. Not sad tears, relief tears, the kind that come when you finally believe you deserve good things. The next morning, Emma appeared in Jessica's doorway before school. I made you something, she announced. She held out a piece of construction paper, corners carefully folded. Jessica unfolded it to find a drawing. 3 stick figures standing in front of a blue house. One tall with dark hair labeled Dad. One small with pigtails labeled Me. And one in between labeled Jess. Above them in Emma's careful handwriting, My Family. Jessica's vision blurred. Emma, you said you were scared about the new job, about not being here enough. But you're always going to be part of our family. Jobs don't change that. Emma climbed onto the bed. Mom had a job. She was still my mom. You can have a job and still be my Jess. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just noticed. Jessica laughed through tears and pulled Emma into a hug. Thank you, baby. This is the best gift anyone's ever given me. Really, really, really. So you'll take the job? Yeah, I think I will. Emma cheered and ran off to tell Michael. Jessica looked at the drawing again. 3 stick figures, a family, her family. She called Linda Chen that afternoon and accepted the position. That weekend, Michael made an announcement at breakfast. We're planting a tree today. What kind of tree? Emma asked through a mouthful of pancakes. A cherry tree. Your mom always wanted one. She had it all planned out where it would go, what kind, everything. But she got sick before we could plant it. Jessica's breath caught. Michael, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. The garden's almost done, but it's missing its centerpiece. It's missing Rachel's tree. He looked at both of them. And I think we should plant it together, the 3 of us. Because this garden isn't just about the past anymore. It's about what we're building, what we're growing. They drove to the nursery and spent an hour picking out the perfect tree. Emma insisted on a specific one, not the biggest, not the smallest, but the one with the most blossoms. "This one's happy," she declared. "See how many flowers it has. It wants to grow." Back home, they dug the hole where Rachel had marked on her garden plan, right in the center, where everything else would grow around it. "Your mom said cherry trees were symbols of new beginnings," Michael told Emma as they worked. "She said they bloom even after harsh winters, that they remind us that beautiful things can come after hard times." "Like Jessica coming to live with us," Emma said. "Yeah, like that." Jessica's eyes stung. She focused on digging on the physical act of making space for something to grow. When the hole was deep enough, they lowered the tree carefully. Emma held it steady while Michael and Jessica filled in the dirt, packing it down gently. "Should we say something?" Emma asked. "Like a ceremony." Michael thought about it. "Yeah, let's say something." They stood around the newly planted tree, 3 people covered in dirt, holding hands. "Mom," Emma started, "we planted your tree. I hope you like where we put it, and I hope you know about Jessica. She's really nice, and she takes care of us, and I think you'd be friends." Jessica's throat closed up. Michael went next. "Rachel, I miss you every day. But I'm not frozen anymore. I'm not just surviving. I'm living again, and I think you'd be happy about that. I think you'd like what we've built here, what we've grown." He squeezed Jessica's hand. She took a shaky breath. "I never met you, Rachel," Jessica said quietly, "but I feel like I know you, through Michael's stories, through Emma's memories, through this garden you designed. You loved deeply, and you fought hard, and you left behind so much beauty." She paused, gathering courage. "And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for creating this family. Thank you for teaching them how to love. Thank you for showing them that broken things can be fixed, that dead things can bloom again, that there's always room for new growth." Tears ran down her face. "I promise to take care of them, to love them, to be part of this family you started, and I promise to make sure this tree blooms every spring so we always remember that beautiful things come after hard winters." Emma was crying. Michael was crying. Jessica was crying. They stood in the garden they'd restored together around the tree they'd planted together and let themselves feel everything. After a while, Emma spoke. "I think Mom would like this, all of us together. The garden finished, her tree planted." "I think so too," Michael said. They went inside and cleaned up, made hot chocolate, sat around the kitchen table with dirt still under their fingernails and hope blooming in their chests. "Can I ask you something?" Jessica said. "Always," Michael replied. "Do you believe everything happens for a reason, that we're meant to find certain people?" Michael considered it. "I used to not. Used to think life was random. But then Emma pointed at a stranger at a bus stop and said, 'Dad, she looks sad.' And I stopped. And you got in the car, and everything changed. You changed my life," Jessica said simply. "Both of you. I was ready to give up, and then you appeared out of nowhere and said, 'You're coming with me.' Like it was the simplest thing in the world." "Maybe it was simple. Maybe we make things too complicated." Michael looked at her. "Maybe when you see someone drowning, you just pull them out. No overthinking, no calculating risk. You just do it. And then what, after you pull them out? Then you teach them to swim, give them a place to rest, show them they're worth saving." He smiled. "And if you're lucky, they teach you the same things." Emma had been quiet, listening. Now she spoke up. "I think destiny is just people choosing to be kind, like how Dad chose to stop, and Jessica chose to get in the car, and how we all chose to be a family." Jessica and Michael stared at her. "What?" Emma asked. "I told you I understand grown-up things." They laughed. The sound filled the kitchen, warm and real and full of life. That night, after Emma was asleep, Michael and Jessica went outside to check on the tree. It stood in the center of the garden, branches reaching up to catch moonlight. "It's perfect," Jessica said. "Yeah, it really is." They stood in comfortable silence. Then Jessica spoke. "I start the new job in January. I know. I'm terrified. I know that too. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? Michael turned to face her. You're going to be incredible. You're going to help people who are where you were 6 months ago. You're going to show them that recovery is possible, that life after trauma is possible, that they deserve second chances. How can you be so sure? Because I've watched you do it for yourself. I've seen you go from someone who couldn't sleep through the night to someone who's thriving. If you can do it for yourself, you can help others do it too. Jessica's eyes filled with tears again, happy tears this time. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for giving me a reason to believe in anything again. They looked at the tree, at the garden, at the house with its lights glowing warm. Destiny isn't about what we lose, Michael said softly. It's about who we find along the way. Jessica leaned her head on his shoulder. And sometimes it's about who finds us when we need them most. Yeah, that too. Inside, they could hear Emma singing in her sleep. Some song from school, off-key and sweet. The sound of a child who felt safe, who felt loved, who knew her family was whole. Michael thought about that night 6 months ago. The rain, the bus stop, the stranger who became family. He thought about all the small choices that led to this moment. Emma saying she looks sad. Him pulling over. Jessica getting in the car. Every tiny decision that built to this. Jessica thought about standing at that bus stop ready to disappear. Thought about a stranger appearing out of nowhere and saying 4 words that changed everything. Thought about finding home in the last place she expected. Thought about learning to live again. Emma, in her sleep, thought about nothing. She just dreamed. Happy dreams. Dreams where her mom smiled from somewhere beyond, proud of the family they'd become. Dreams where the garden bloomed forever. Dreams where everyone she loved stayed safe and whole and together. 3 people, 3 different kinds of broken, 3 different paths to healing, but one family, one home, one tree growing in a garden that had been dead and was now alive again. The cherry tree would bloom in spring, would fill the garden with pink and white petals, would remind them every year that beautiful things grow from hard winters, that new beginnings are possible, that broken people can become whole again. But they didn't need the tree to tell them that. They already knew. They lived it every day. In the morning, Jessica would go to work and help other veterans find their way home. Emma would go to school and tell everyone about the tree they'd planted. Michael would open his shop and fix watches and think about how broken things with enough care and patience can tick again. And that evening they'd come home, all 3 of them, to the blue house that needed painting but was filled with love, to the garden that had been dead but was now alive, to each other. Because that's what families do. They come home, they show up, they choose each other again and again and again. Michael looked at Jessica. She looked back. No words needed. Everything that mattered was right here. The moon rose higher. The night grew deeper. The tree stood silent in the garden, roots reaching down into soil that had been tended by 3 pairs of hands. Soil that had been dead and was now alive. Soil that would feed the tree that would bloom each spring and remind them of what they'd built together. A family. Not born but made. Not given but chosen. Not perfect but real. And in the end, that was everything. They went inside together, locked the door, turned off the lights, went to their separate rooms that weren't really separate at all because family doesn't live in separate spaces. Family lives in shared laughter and morning pancakes and dirt under fingernails and trees planted together. Jessica lay in bed and looked at Emma's drawing on her nightstand. 3 stick figures. My family. She fell asleep smiling. Michael lay in bed and thought about Rachel, thought about how she'd love what they'd built, how she'd love Jessica, how she'd be proud of him for choosing to live again. He fell asleep at peace. Emma lay in bed with her bunny and thought about the cherry tree blooming, about how pretty it would be, about how Mom would have loved it. She fell asleep happy, and outside the tree stood under stars, roots digging deep branches, reaching high, ready to bloom when spring came. Ready to prove that beautiful things grow from broken ground, ready to show that destiny is real, ready to bloom.